It looks like apparently you want to know how to make kombucha. So let's start from the basic and grow from there. I want to show you and talk to you about kombucha essentials, teas, and the SCOBY that will make your kombucha. And from today onwards, you will start making your own kombucha at home. Shall we start? Kombucha is fermented tea from a colony of bacteria called SCOBY. Kombucha is quite ancient, and because it's fermentation, it might have up to 1% of alcohol, so you gotta play with that because its fermentation is the same as apple juice. If you leave it outside, it's gonna ferment the same as kombucha, the same as kimchi, the same as sauerkraut. Fermentation makes the lactic acid, which adds alcohol to the beverage. It's really a small portion of alcohol, but still, just a disclaimer. From tea, how can you make kombucha? I'm gonna ask you, follow these instructions and you're gonna be okay. Buy a flavorless kombucha, so raw kombucha, no added flavors, just kombucha. Open the bottle, transfer to a jar, and keep it on the counter for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, especially in the summer because it's too hot, you will start seeing a little membrane, and that is your SCOBY. From that point on, you can infuse your tea and start making kombucha. Each time that you make kombucha, your SCOBY gets thicker. And from the SCOBY, you can have your SCOBY hotel, and this is my Josephine, the mother. So Josephine has really thick SCOBYs because she has existed in the context of my world. But Josephine is about 3 years old. And I've given her away, I've given to other people, but she has a lot of SCOBYs in here. If you have questions about maintaining a SCOBY hotel and whatnot, just ask out and I will make more videos to make sure that we are both in the same place. But for now, you just need to know how to make kombucha. So I'm gonna ask you to start by making a SCOBY. Raw kombucha, unflavored, go, open it in a jar. Make sure that if you don't have a tablecloth like mine, so my kombucha, as you can see, she has a little bonnet. She's a black woman. She has a little bonnet to make sure that I prevent the sanctity of the kombucha inside, of the liquid inside. And for that, in the beginning, I used to use a paper cloth, and I just put it on top, and then with a rubber band to secure. Because you also have like fruit flies in the summer, or you have dust, whatever. You don't want anything to come inside and contaminate your broth, your kombucha liquid. So make sure that you cover the top, but let it sit on the kitchen counter for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, if it's hot where you are, I guarantee you will have a layer of a SCOBY. And from that point on, make your tea. I normally do 1 liter of water. I use 15 grams of loose black tea, and then I use 250 grams of brown sugar. Teas. Now teas. If you are a bougie person and can afford it, I would advise you to get a really good tea. This is the tea I normally buy. This is a German brand of teas. It's loose tea. I would always choose loose tea, so you don't need to go to such an high-end option. However, I do think tea is quite important. Keep in mind, I started making kombucha when I was in Prague. Okay, during the panini in the dorm alone. So I chose low-end tea. So it was the Earl Grey tea, the cheapest version I could find, and I just used I would cut the tea bags and then put it on a diffuser to make my teas. So if you are on a budget, just take the black tea that you like. Kombucha can also be made with other teas, but my favorite is just black tea. I like the flavor, I like how deep it gets. I tried to make with green tea kombucha once, but I didn't like the aftertaste of the green tea version, so I prefer always black tea. But you can also use green tea, you can use herbal tea as well, but it's not one of my favorites though. Now, tea. I choose loose leaves because you can control it better, and each batch I normally infuse 1 liter of tea, and for 1 liter of tea, I use 15 grams of loose tea. And this is what my loose tea looks like. It's just, you know, the quality is there, and that's what I prefer. You see long tea leaves that are beautiful, and once infused, it's just great. Can you focus on? No, this is the tea. So it will infuse. The tea leaves are strong, are beautiful, are big, and it's not like leftover tea. Then the difference of sugars. Why I use brown sugar and white sugar in my kombucha. So brown sugar has bigger sugar granulates, which makes it much smaller, which makes it much richer on the first fermentation. First fermentation takes roughly 7 days. In the winter time, it takes me longer, of course, because it's colder. But in summertime, first fermentation takes me up to 7 days, but I want the kombucha to ferment slowly. So, because it takes me 7 days for the first fermentation, I want my sugar granulate to also be bigger. So I always prefer on the first fermentation to use brown sugar. Then on the second fermentation, which is to add the carbonation and the flavoring of your kombucha, I normally use white sugar. White sugar has smaller granulates and also can be digested by the SCOBY, so by the microorganism in the kombucha, much faster. Because then, once my kombucha is ready, it can explode, as you've seen several times, and that's due to the bacteria eating the sugar and being trapped in your bottles. So that's why I use different types of sugar in my kombucha. But also, you can just use the one type of sugar. It works as well. It's just if you want to go into deep. But all of this came with time. When I was trapped in my bedroom in Prague, I was just using white sugar, and it was good still. I was enjoying my kombucha. But now, I don't need to survive. I can enjoy the lifestyle. Your SCOBY is ready, so you want to make a kombucha. I'm gonna need you to grab a jar that can handle at least 1 liter of water, and I'm gonna need you to bring water to a boil. After your water is boiling, let's have our tea ready. You will need 250 grams of brown sugar. Let's measure everything. And 50 grams of Earl Grey tea or black tea, or any type of tea you're gonna choose. I'm taking my scale out, and let's even everything. I want you to grab a tea infuser. I'm choosing this one for my kettle just because it's easier for me to just close, and it also fits in the jar. And we're gonna add our black tea. My water is boiled and my tea is ready. So first, my water is boiled, my sugar is ready, my tea is in tea diffuser. So let's start by pouring the water into the sugar. If you don't mix this, the sugar will be sitting on the bottom, which you don't want, because then it's just a wall of sugar. So make sure that you mix everything, because you want the sugar to be dissolved. This is almost like making iced tea through it. So once most of the sugar has been dissolved, you're gonna add your tea. And now we let this sit for 4 hours. You want the temperature to go down, and you also want to make sure that the tea as steeped as possible. You cannot mix your hot tea with a SCOBY. A SCOBY is a living organism. If you put warm or hot tea on it, it's gonna kill all the bacteria, okay? So make sure that you leave this in room temperature for at least 4 hours, at least. And always check, if it's too hot, do not pour. That's it.